Hello everyone, and welcome back to Star Trek Messina, a Star Trek Adventures 2nd Edition game using the rules by Modifius Entertainment. My name is ELH, the Game Master, and joining me are three lovely individuals who'll meet right away, starting with Mr. Matthew. Matthew, who are you playing and anything you want to shout out?
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew. I play the Cardassian Chief Medical Officer Armin Matan, and I have nothing to shout out whatsoever.
Are you going to say why this time, or?
No, I'm a man of mystery.
Okay, fair enough. All right, Techno, what do you got going on?
Hey everyone, I am Techno. I am playing the commander of the ship, Jeanette Cato. He's a Betazoid and occasionally goes into the Troy channel. Um, and the only thing I want to shout out is just to apologize really for the April Fool's video that I did. I hope everyone enjoyed it slash hated it as much as I enjoyed slash hated making it.
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, go watch this week's Event Horizon. It's
Oh,
it's
and
a fun.
I mean, do that anyway, but yeah, and apologies in advance.
Yeah. All right, and last but not least, Bean, what do you got going on?
I am Bean_Goblin VT. I am just a little goblin playing Igus, who is definitely not going to take over the ship this week. I have not got much going on, but on the 25th is my stream anniversary, which I plan to do stuff if things don't explode on me. Yippee.
We will hope technology does not explode. But yes, let's get that intro going and we'll get started. And welcome back. So, as is tradition in my Star Trek Adventures campaigns, is I have the players do an opening log, and I believe Igus has that log today. So, Bean, take it away.
Hi. System log M14A3. I and the crew have been transported in the placement of the thorium-based fish life form to the planet which suits their needs. The crew has switched my shields back to normal, and all systems to be in the green after the sheer amount of radiation we took. Class Aratsu has alerted me an anomaly within our sector. Neither of our sensors be able to much headway on the object. All scans have failed, only amounting in visual observations. It is an orb of 288.6 meters in diameter, making it roughly the same size as Constitution vessel. It is currently holding a perfect 1.34 AU from the nearest star, and I have on file a while back this star system named as the Cato system, a F-class planet when I was myself in the Amaretsu. My offshoot program or daughter has been doing well, and this is our sector, we have both agreed that my captain should look into this orb and the system. End log.
All right, you may have momentum for that opening log. So, as Igus just said, we sort of see the Messina sort of approaching a star system with a fairly standard sun, like kind of like our regular sun here in real life. But the object in question is a perfectly circular matte gray orb. And when I mean perfectly circular, I mean it is the roundest object ever to be round, if you get my meaning. But as far as sensors on the Messina are concerned, it doesn't have mass. It doesn't put off any electromagnetic wavelengths other than visual. It doesn't have any anything on sensors. The only thing that is signifying that this orb even exists is that you can physically look out of a window or on the view screen and see this orb. And as Bean said, it is a Constitution class sized orb. So it's a fairly standard big orb, all things considered, but it's just there. It's just chilling.
It's a fairly standard, completely unexplainable orb.
Yeah, standard orb.
Standard orb. Yeah. Let us ponder it for a while.
We have entered the Cato system, Captain, and the anomaly is up ahead.
Right. First of all, we've entered the what system now?
The Cato system.
You're going to have to walk me through exactly how you came to decide on that name there, Agus.
On first arriving into this galaxy, since most stars were unknown, I took it upon myself to name a vast majority of them names of the crew when I was on the Amaratsu. Since I was the one discovering it, was right by Starfleet protocol that I was the one to be able to name it.
Yeah, but now I'm going to have to report back that I, Captain Cato,
Yes.
I'm reporting from the Cato system.
Yes. The
Well,
captain.
it's going to happen eventually.
What do you mean it was going to happen eventually?
Well, given that there are a limited number of names for places, I guess would have eventually run down to your name.
There's index systems. We could have used any number of identifiers for this system.
You might as well
I
take it
have
as a
gone
sign of
through-
affection.
through my first one. I do appreciate all my crew, so I have named the stars after my crew, so they will always be remembered.
Is there an Aegis star system?
No, because that would be egotistical. But
I
you
like call
didn't
it
name it, so
narcissistic,
it wouldn't
but-
be egotistical.
Where's the
Where's my
Matan
star
system?
system?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
I will pull up a record of what the Matan system is.
Of course, the Matan system is a binary black hole with several Class D moons, and there's a Class L2 that remotely resembles Cardassia. It's actually quite nice.
That's remarkably well chosen. I think that's well, dare I say, that's very sweet.
Thank you, Dr. Matan. I am glad you appreciate it.
And what's in my system?
A M-class planet, a couple of gas giants, and 2 asteroid belts.
And an orb.
And this orb.
And this
And an
orb,
orb.
which we hadn't previously discovered since, as you can tell, sensor scans haven't picked up anything, and until we got into long-range visual scans,
For the
we weren't
record,
able to see it. Yes, Captain?
Aegis, I want you to enter this as a priority order.
Mm-hmm.
We are not to name this the Cato orb.
I think you just did.
No,
I have a complication from chat. I guess it's the Cato orb.
But I have already even put it into the system, Captain.
We'll take it out of the system.
I can nickname it Captain, but
No, I don't. No, don't nickname it. Don't name it. Don't identify it in any way.
Bean, chat has given me a further evil idea. It's the K-Torb.
Yeah, the K-Torb. It's spelled K-A-Y-T orb.
ELH, unrelated. Do you have moderators that can ban people in chat?
I'm sorry, but 2 members of our chat have already voted for a captain. It's been decided.
Why did
Well,
I
I will
implement
point
that
out, Captain,
shipwide
that
chat
this is
system?
not actually a democracy, so you could act in some sort of dictatorial fashion as a fascistic overlord.
Well, I think I just tried that, and I seem to have somehow been overruled.
Fascinating. Another victory
turns
for
around and
Federation
goes,
values.
well, you're not the head of astrology, Captain, so I don't think you have the latinum to be able to change the name. I could, if you would pay me. She puts out a bad price on it.
How? We don't get paid.
What? Yeah. What would this actually achieve? What am I thumbing here? If I were to thumb anything,
Oh, you would be increasing my bonus this year.
you don't get a bonus. You work in Starfleet.
You don't get a bonus. I get a contract with Starfleet, which means I get paid. It's for cultural reasons.
And
I don't-
Petronova turns in her chair and says, are you all not getting latinum? I mean, I'm getting little latinum stipend. Are you all not getting latinum?
Precisely. The fact that I'm here means you should be getting latinum for cultural sensitivity.
So that we can exchange Latinum with you.
Yes. It would be an insult to my culture otherwise.
Aegis, how much Latinum do I have?
You have 2 bars of latinum, Captain.
Oh. Is that a lot?
Yes, Captain.
Oh. All right. back to my original. This is not important. Commander, can you scan the orb or do something with the orb? I feel like we should investigate the orb rather
I
than.
literally have thrown everything Messina has on sensors. It is not there according to sensors, but I mean, look at it. The K-Torb is right there.
Right. Since I've just established that we get paid, I'm going to start docking pay for anyone that continues to refer to this as the K-Torb. Okay, good. Right. Now, so back on track. We are saying there is no mass, there's no emissions, there's no nothing. There's just visual contact, is what we're saying about this orb. Is that right?
Right,
Just
Captain,
a
it's
perfect sphere down to the micron.
it doesn't seem to
How are
even
you
have any
measuring that?
Oh, well, I can't scan anything from it, but the computer can extrapolate from the visual impression.
Yes, and also it doesn't seem to have any gravitational interaction with the solar system.
So it's not there?
By all feasible, definable senses of logic, yes, Captain.
Okay.
However, it could have some form of advanced technology or some spatial anomaly which is hiding these readings, or maybe it's out of phase with our reality.
I mean, I do recall certain logs from the Enterprises about, well, they were more holes in space, but they were similarly unmeasurable and emissionless. Um, is this in any way similar to those phenomenon?
Potentially, Captain, and also referencing the Enterprise, there's also the U.S.S. Pegasus, which had a cloaking device, which phased them out of reality, so they could be able to pass particle
Oh,
matter.
you're suggesting that this could be right. Interesting. Okay. Hmm.
It could also be somewhat analogous to a black hole in that it prevents any kind of radio or electromagnetic radiation from escaping it on a higher level of being or dimension, reality. It could do the same. It just doesn't allow any sensor scans to reflect.
What are the
So
chances
yes,
that this is a vessel of some kind then,
as
do we
much
think?
as there's a chance that is an anomaly which defies all explanation, Captain.
That's not overly helpful, but I
I do
appreciate.
apologize.
No, no, you shouldn't because it's the correct answer to the question, but it's just not overly helpful in helping me make a decision. Um,
We could try hailing it, Captain.
that was to be my next thought, yes. Let's hold off on that for a moment, and he turns to Zach. Um, Science officer, anything you can suggest or
Well,
out
besides the
short of
physical,
poking it with a stick? Yeah.
I was going to suggest firing a probe to make physical contact with it would be the least effective damage to us. We could also blast some particles at it to see if the particles fly through it or disappear into the ether. But like the ship's computer saying, eh, I've been running calculations on it and it doesn't make much sense to me.
Okay. Commander Petronova, thank you, Zach. I think probably the best bet at the moment, and probably my decision will be to attempt to hail it first, and if that yields no results, then we should fire a probe at it.
I agree. This is good course of action.
Very well, if you would open hailing frequencies.
Channel
Just
is open.
standard greeting, all channels. Let's see if we can get a response.
All right. Petronova pushes the button. You wait about a minute. No reply, sir.
Very well. In that case, load a class 2 probe, full sensor suite, and
Class 2 probes? Sir, why are we using the Class 2s? We have perfectly good Class 8s.
we can use a class 8 probe if you want. I just thought, okay, yep, sure. All right, class 8 probe, full sensor suite.
I'm just messing with you. We only have Class 5s.
I am docking your pay.
Well, since we're being docked pay on various other things, I shall continue to call it the K-Hope.
So, narratively, what happens is firing out of the. I guess it's still the torpedo launcher, because that's usually what the probes are launched out of. It's kind of a multifunctional thing. But probe flies out of the front of the Messina, And just to confirm, you wanted to make physical contact with the K-Torb, right?
Yeah, I think we wanted to lightly touch, so speed up until it gets to roughly where the orb should be, and then just sort of nudge it rather than just
Give it a
cream
boop.
into it.
Okay.
Yeah, assuming we have that level of control over it, then yes.
Oh, you do. You do. It's a Class 5 probe. Of course you do.
Sure. Yep. All right.
So the Class 5 probe fires out, gets right up next to the orb, slows down dramatically, and then, like you booping a dog's nose or a cat's nose or any animal's nose, it just kind of goes boop. And then you all watch as the probe vanishes. As in, it completely just 1 minute it's there, the next moment, gone.
Huh.
Is it a similar effect to a Iconian gateway shifting something?
Well,
Would you like to roll a sensor scan or a computer's analysis on what the probe was able to transmit back?
I was going to ask Zek if we're still receiving any kind of telemetry first, and I guess that would be tied into the roll.
Yeah, that would be tied into the roll. So, if you want to give me a reason and science, and the Messina will assist you with a computers and science, the difficulty on this will start at a 2.
All right, I'm going to take this roll because I can turn the Messina into a crit due to con officer because you said computers, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And sensors operations?
Would apply.
Would apply. What was the target number again?
Just 2.
Okay. I shall roll away. So that means the Messina is giving me a crit. I give 1 success, so 3 successes in total.
So 1 momentum back. So, what you are able to detect is that the probe is not transmitting any telemetry through the anomaly or the orb, but it's also not like 60,000 light years that direction. If it's transported anywhere, it's outside of your receiving range. If it was disintegrated, really there's a number of things that could have happened to it, but all you know is that down to the attosecond being one of the smallest measurable amounts of time, down to the attosecond, the probe was there, it made contact, probe no longer there.
So Zach is going to tap his fingers together, reach for the console and go, well, thank you, I guess. It seems like the computer's already done my job for me, Captain. It seems that the probe was there 1 moment, gone the next. We're not receiving any telemetry. So if this is some form of wormhole or some sort of Iconian gateway as the nearest possible allegory, we can't communicate through it. So the probe, for all intents and purposes, is gone. There's not even a single atom of what it was beforehand. Yeah, it defies explanation. Still. I would like to spend 1 momentum to see if it is analogous to a Iconian gateway or some sort of other wormhole or gate technology that Starfleet has encountered.
Okay, yeah, so you'll spend that 1 momentum to ask that question. I'm going to say no, it doesn't match anything on record, simply because even with an Iconian gateway that we see in The Next Generation a few times, there is some form of emission, there is some form of sensor reading. There's none of that here. And it's not a wormhole because, wormhole has certain qualities that you'd be able to pick up on. This matches nothing on known records.
So, it seems like there's nothing on records to match this, Captain, and there isn't anything which is analogous to any other teleport technology. It's almost like the probe's been disintegrated.
Only no evidence of it having been disintegrated.
We could fire another probe and then put a timed function that it will reverse.
So I see. So if it has crossed a threshold that we can't detect,
yes,
then it would reverse course back to us in theory.
Yes, Captain.
Well, in for a slip, in for a bar. Sure, yeah. Let's use one of the class 1 probes though.
I told you, all we have is class 5s.
All we have is class 5s?
Yes, the other probes are arriving on Tuesday.
Of course they are. Yes. Okay, cool. Another class 5. I'm sure they're completely replaceable.
I mean,
Info
yeah, we can
slap,
replicate them, so you know.
info slip, info bar, as the Frankie will tap the button after putting in the code for it.
All right. Probe flies out, makes contact with the anomaly. You wait a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
How
Probe
long
is
a
not
delay
returned.
did you put on that?
I put 5 second delay just in case, there was some sort of cooldown to whatever effect has happened.
Okay, I
And
think we
right as
can.
you're about to give up on the probe, it actually returns. But something drastically has changed about the probe. I'd like you to imagine, standard Star Trek probe, kind of looks like a torpedo case, kind of just black in color, made out of metal of some kind. When the probe returns, that metal shell has been corroded and weathered away, almost as if it has either been exposed to some form of a highly concentrated acid or base, in addition to the weathers of time, because the battery is completely drained, the computer is no longer running on the probe, and it is pretty much an inert object, but it did come back eventually.
Correct me if I'm wrong, everyone, but those probes have a small matter-antimatter core in them, right? So for it to have drained all of the power out of that would take how
Correct,
long?
unless it was under a particularly large damping field, it should have a year or two of supply on heavy usage,
Hmm.
depending on environment, of course, Captain.
Um,
Even in areas where it seems to have been corroded, where the hostile environment is damaging it, it should at least have a month's battery life.
Should we not then repeat the experiment? Perhaps send a probe in on a millisecond timer, have it return immediately? Perhaps the less damage that it sustains, the more information we'll be able to glean.
We may also wish to shield it, since both probes aren't shielded. The other option would be to retrieve the current probe that we have sent and seem to examine what damages has been done, see if we can adapt the probe to that environment.
I'm in agreement with both of those plans. I'm wanting us to ensure that we have full quarantine procedures in place on the probe if we bring it aboard. I would rather do any studying we can at arm's length, as it were, before until we have to.
Well, we could place it on board a shuttlecraft, create an isolated environment. In
Aegis,
fact, we
could
could
you
go out and retrieve
you
it with the
can
shuttlecraft.
very true on both counts. Aegis, you can put one of your what's the word?
Instances, Captain.
Instances. Thank you. You can put one of your instances on board a shuttlecraft, yes?
Yes, Captain.
Um, would you do that, please? Would you take one of the shuttles with another of your instances, go and collect the probe and do some analysis on board while we continue with sensor readings at a distance?
Hi, Captain. I shall send Igus one to ascertain the probe's condition.
You just got
Thank you.
momentum from chat. Thank you, chat.
I'm going to give, because this is probably an activation, I'm going to give Igus one. I don't know whether to give a shuttle. Oh no, con's not very good. I'm just going to give her an increasing 2 con.
Okay. All right. So, if I understand the chain of events, you're going to go collect the probe, and then at the same time launch another one, but on a quicker return sequence. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, correct.
Well, I don't think at the same time. We'll go collect the probe, see what we can glean regarding the effects of the environment on the other side of the sphere, and then basically try to inure the probe against its effects.
Gotcha. Okay. So I guess 1, I should say, you head out in the shuttlecraft, and since it's just you in the shuttle, you can just literally pop open the door and bring the probe aboard. No issue there. But as you're scanning the probe, what you're noticing is that this isn't necessarily a hostile environment, shall I say. This is, as people in chat have already guessed, this is a time thing, where this is the natural breakdown of the material, the metal used in the probe. And even the computer, like the internals of the probe, have also been weathered. Where to kind of put a fine point on it, you gave it a 5-second millisecond return time. The probe has weathered 30 years in that time span.
So, just a point of order. Aegis 1 is going to communicate solely through comms normally, rather than having a direct live connection to Aegis primary.
Okay.
Though with the basically a emergency beam out situation, and Aegis is going to have on the Messina a quarantine box digitally in case something bad happens to Aegis 1.
Okay. Has been noted.
The ship is also probably, the shuttle's probably having everything diverted power-wise to engine sensors and security defense, since there doesn't need to be anything else on the ship to keep the shuttle running.
Okay.
But yes, she's going to pull the shuttle in and say over the comms. So, Captain, I have the aged old little probe by here. It seems like it's been like aged for centuries, even though it's only been there for a couple of milliseconds, or maybe it hasn't been there for a couple of milliseconds. Maybe it's been in there for centuries, but it's like it took centuries for it to get here.
Uh, uh, the scans are showing centuries of time have passed for the probe, is what
Yes,
you're
this is
saying?
natural breakdown of the probe. It has gone through most of its backup and also its energy dispersal phase. So the probe doesn't seem to have had anything damaged externally. ELH, can I check if it's like in a environment which is just not void, like water or something, or air?
I'm thinking because I don't want to spoil the mystery.
There.
Give me a reason science difficulty of 3.
Using science difficulty of 3. Uh, I am going to use the value I am happy to help.
Okay.
And EPS power systems is the only thing I can blog.
I mean, technically, you are having to interface with the EPS power systems of the probe to make it. Yeah, I'll allow it. Sure.
All right, and I'm going to spend 1 point of momentum to roll additional dice.
Okay. Well, I have good news and I have bad news.
Oh no, not Aegis 1. No.
So you are going to go down to 1 momentum here, but the complication is going to be that the shuttle's inertial dampeners are going to cut out as if, some force or some. Oh, hey, threat from chat. Thank you. The inertial dampeners are going to cut out, which doesn't really affect you per se, but it does affect the probe. Where as you pull this data and you get your answer in a moment, the shuttle rocks violently and the probe just sort of vibrates. And then, almost like it was being held together with very poor duct tape, it just kind of disintegrates on the shuttle floor. But before you lose the probe, you actually do manage to get the fact that whatever this was, whatever this happened to be, it was wildly fluctuating in time, where parts of the probe were 30 years, 300 years, 3,000 years, 30 minutes, 30 seconds, where this probe experienced a wide array of temporal anomaly.
So, Aegis 1 is going to be coming onto the view screen. As you can see, basically the probe is like the center core of it has just disintegrated. The two end paths are just like flopped on the bench that she's got, and she goes, Captain, I was able to get the data, but as you can see, it seems to have broken. It seems that this part was 30 years old, this part was 100 years old, this part was only 1 year old, this part was minus 4 years old. Yeah, it seems to be experiencing quite a lot of temporal anomalies.
Sorry, did you say a part was minus 4 years old?
Yes.
I hate time travel. Um,
The metal seemed to have been not reinforced, but it seemed to have experienced the reverses of time. The section seems to be back when it was, yeah.
okay, understood, Aegis One. Now that the probe has disintegrated, is there any danger from the remainder of it to you or to your shuttle?
I don't believe there's any danger to me unless there's some sort of bacterial it is. Is there any biological matter, ELH?
Nope.
Nope, there doesn't seem to be any biological matter, so I doubt there's any danger to the crew.
Doctor, any opinion, views on?
Well, I believe that any danger that we pose to the crew would exist only within the anomaly itself. The probe, well, whatever damage that is going to be done has already taken place.
I'm inclined to agree, but thank you all the same. Okay. Aegis 1, if you can reverse course and bring the shuttle back, please, and obviously yourself.
Aye, aye,
Um,
Captain.
I don't think I'm feeling that there's not anything to be gained by shooting another probe into the anomaly at this point. If it's wildly fluctuating through time, we'd have to do something to it before we did so.
We would have to
And
give it temporal shielding, Captain.
Well, exactly. So, and he sort of taps his comm badge. Captain to engineering.
And there's a brief pause, and then the sort of stoic and placid voice of Vulcan comes across. Yes, Captain? This is engineering. Commander Villar speaking.
Valar, hello. What's your how's your temporal mechanics in a general sense? How would you be able to outfit a probe with temporal shielding, do you think?
At that initial question, you can hear the eyebrow arch over the comm link, and she says, "Impeccable, Captain."
Impeccable. Okay, very good. In that case, could you have you been monitoring the situation from engineering?
I would be remiss in my duties if I did not do so, Captain.
Absolutely right. I shouldn't even have asked the question. I apologize. Um, can you please work with Aegis to and possibly Zek as well? And he looks over at Zek and
I
sort
think
of
I have something on temporal shielding. Pulled up a data pad.
Given Mr. Zek's
on.
performance on the modifications to the shield array in order to defend us against the abnormal radiation that we encountered recently, I believe his assistance would be appreciated.
Well, you read my mind, which is weird because that's usually what I do. Um,
Vulcans are a telepathic species, Captain. We are, however, touch telepaths.
I
So it is impossible for me to have read your mind. However, you are capable of projecting your thoughts, particularly to other species that are capable of telepathy. Is it possible that you were doing so inadvertently?
reading my own thoughts.
No, transmitting your thoughts to me.
Oh, it's entirely possible. Let's put that question aside for a moment. Either way, we appear to be of the same mind. If you could work with Zek and Aegis, please, on temporally shielding another Class 5 probe.
I have not initiated a mind meld with you, Captain. It is impossible that we are of the same mind.
It is a figure of speech, Lieutenant.
Figurative language is woefully inaccurate.
Yes, you're quite right.
Incredibly
I
fun,
will.
says Zach as he starts walking down the edge. As I just thump thump.
Um, I'm sure Zek can give you a primer on some of the.
Yes, for a few slips of Latin, I can give you a thesaurus on metaphors and other sorts of speech.
Yes, because it turns out we're being paid, in fact, Valar. So if you want to spend any of your hard-earned wages on that, then you are more than welcome.
Unfortunately, I have spent all my Latinum.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. I
Just disconnects the call at that point.
Oh Lord. All right. Well, I mean, we already have the people in question. So Valar and Zach and potentially, I guess this is going to be a daring and engineering. And Matthew, if you haven't already given Valar an activation, this does count as an activation. Difficulty on this will be a 4.
I presume Zach counts as a
Yeah, let's do an
activating as well?
activation for Zek as well.
Um, I think I'm gonna take chat suggestion of info a slip, info a bar as a value.
Okay. I mean, that gives them access to determination.
What, chat? That's dangerous.
Yes, chat has determination now.
You hear
God,
that,
can you
chat?
They can buy
imagine?
threat, they can buy momentum, so why can't they buy determination?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Or more
maybe
importantly,
like
spend it.
10
Yeah.
times 10 times the cost for good Q power. We get determination back.
Since you just took that value, do you want to take the lead? What's your engineering score?
Uh Zach is engineering 3, and was it daring? This wouldn't
Daring.
be the thing for him, even if he has determination.
Okay.
He does have prototyping, so he might be able to help with like the temporal science aspects of it, rather than the theory craft, rather than the building of it.
Okay. Experimental technology as a focus.
Would apply for Valar. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Maybe go for an insight science to like get the exact temporal effect from the data applied from assist. ULH.
I'm thinking.
Ah,
If you assist, yes.
okay.
But if Valar's doing, whoever's actually doing the work is doing a daring.
All right.
Sure. So I
And
guess Valar will take the lead. That's a 13.
uh,
And I'll spend 3 momentum to buy 2 extra dice. Do we have
How are
three
you
momentum?
getting to
No.
3 momentum because you only have one?
By spending a point of threat.
Oh, okay. Carry on.
um, maybe Igus assist as well by spending another threat, so there's 2 assists.
I will
Just, just,
happily take treats.
just to generate more momentum. Maybe helping with um a reason science to try and
Reason engineering, I think.
reason engineer. Yeah, I can do that. Um, Sensor operations to help with the sensor data or
Sure,
computers.
why not?
All right.
Well,
I
that's already
just
4 successes. No help from Igus. And then let's see if Zek gets you anything more.
I feel quite like the ship right now, not
Okay.
assisting.
Hey, you get a momentum back for your trouble. So you are able to get that momentum right back. And what you realize is that Valar apparently is a master of temporal technology, as they alluded to, because not only is Valar able to essentially temporally dampen the probe from any temporal effects, but Matthew, if you wish to spend a momentum and a threat or 2 threat, you could conceivably apply that to the Messina herself.
Yeah, I think that would be a reasonable spend of momentum and threat. What do you believe?
Yeah, I think getting temporal shielding. Well, I presume it'd also work on the probe as well, because that
Yeah,
was
what
where we're
I'm
going.
saying is that you're basically taking the probe, you're making it temporally shielded, and then Villar's like, wait a second, why don't I just apply this to the whole Messina as well?
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay, so I will make
Lieutenant
that
Flar, you seem to
trait.
be modulating my shields quite frequently.
Yes, I'm using an algorithm based on chaos theory to essentially predict, insofar as prediction is possible, the most likely variations in the chronometric field within the anomaly. The shields should modulate based on your own impressive computer core and its processing capabilities, its speed, almost instantaneously, protecting us from the effects therein.
Thank you, Lieutenant Flar. Flattery will get you everywhere,
It is merely a statement of fact.
and that's what makes it even better.
Hmm.
And Zech's just in his corner, just putting in nice linear chips.
Mhm.
Hmm. Valar will just tap her comm badge. Engineering to bridge.
Bridget?
With the assistance of Igus and Mr. Zek, I have successfully modified both the shielding of an individual Type 5 or Class 5 probe and the Messina. We should be protected against the effects of the anomaly.
Oh, well done. My congratulations to your team. Um,
In the background, Zek pulls out a package and just puts it underneath Valara's workplace.
If I may ask, Captain, given that we have discussed the matter of compensation for duties, would this performance merit a performance bonus?
Suppose that depends entirely on how well it works, Lieutenant. So, with that in mind, shall we fire this probe into the anomaly and see what the results are?
I guess.
Yes, firing away, Captain.
All right. Question: how long is it spending in the anomaly before it comes back out?
How long was it timed for before? Was it 5 seconds,
5
did you
seconds.
say? Yeah.
5 seconds.
Um,
5 seconds again? Because we need a point of comparison between the two, without changing anything.
yeah, I suppose the other one was our control probe. So yeah, another 5 seconds then.
Okay. Temporally shielded probe flies out, makes contact with the K-Torb, disappears, comes back in 5 seconds this time, and the temporal shielding is still holding. And anyone on the bridge that accesses the data is going to all see this. So Matan, you see this. Igus, you see this. Zek sees this. Kato, you see it as well. What you're seeing is a strange sort of environment on the other side or past the threshold of this K-Torb. It is a kaleidoscopic, almost mirror within mirror reflection, where, if you take a mirror and put it next to another mirror and you kind of look in, you kind of got that infinity sort of effect. So it's one of those, but instead of it being tinted green as it usually does, it's more tinted into a blue hue. And as far as the probe was able to detect, there is no space within the anomaly. And I want to make that clear. When I say no space, I mean that distances are not a factor. As in, this thing was everywhere but nowhere, if that makes any sense to you.
No, but I think that's the point.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, well, Valar, I would say that this would certainly reflect well on your annual appraisal, yes?
So does that mean you want another case? Says Zek from the background.
If the performance bonus would suffice, yes.
I will order up another case for you then.
I really feel like this is why the Federation doesn't go in for currency-based meritocracy. What would what would the long-term effects of this anomaly be on a temporally shielded probe, do you suppose, Valar? Would it be able to sustain longer than the 5 seconds that we sent it in, or was there any appreciable drain on its systems while it was in there?
Oh, Valar, if you want to give me a insight engineering difficulty of 0.
Okay.
Hopefully get you guys some momentum here.
I think I'll turn that over to Igus, and perhaps it could be an insight science.
Well, actually,
Sure, yeah, I'd allow it.
She would allow.
She's going to pass it on to Zek, who's going to pass it on to the guy sweeping the floor in the background.
Listen,
More
somebody has to be
observation of the
Aegis 24 walks past, and suddenly the dice are inside a shark.
Yeah. I'm just having a look over. What was the
for you, insight science.
insight science? Yeah, I don't think my traits help me, talents help me in this regard. Can I assist myself? I presume I'd be helping myself.
It's a
with the
difficulty
sense.
0, so
It's a difficulty of 0, so no.
Damn.
Nice try, though.
Sensor operations count?
I'll give it to you, sure.
Sensor operations power stat, let's go.
Hey, you at least get 1 momentum back.
Yep.
So, yeah, as long as the temporal shielding holds, you could conceivably exist within this realm that's not a realm indefinitely.
But there's no like drain on the shielding while it's in there.
No, just as long as shields are there, you're good.
Okay.
This void reality doesn't seem to have any draining effect on the temporal shields from the 5 seconds of data that I have.
Can we put the probe in for longer then? Perhaps 5 minutes? and see what the effect would be, if any.
Triggering probe's code now.
Okay.
Send it in for 5 minutes.
All right. Probe goes in. You wait 5 minutes. Probe comes back out. Except this time, the probe has different data. And I don't mean that the kaleidoscopic infinite mirror display is gone. What I mean is that you now have data on the entire Kato sector.
Please say system and not sector, because I don't want to now. Like, please tell me that was a miss.
No. When the probe comes back, the information is labeled the Kato sector.
As Igus just smiling in the background.
I guess.
I had to name the sector something, Captain.
So it's the Kato system in the Kato sector?
Yes. Since you were mostly in command for our missions, it would make sense that you would have a sector named after you.
No,
Indeed,
no, it doesn't.
Look, and he points to the M-class planet that was mentioned earlier on. That's the planet Kato.
Yes, it's Kato 2. Second planet from Kato.
Exactly.
I mean, when colonists land there, they will be able to rename it to something else.
God, I hope they do.
As per Starfleet protocol. Unless there's a native species that have already habited here, then the name would defer to them. But I don't see any signs of intelligent life forms on this planet.
Well, you say that, but nobody has asked me yet, so I'm actually going to spend 2 threat. There's a pre-warp civilization there.
Struggling to detect them on this ship, if I'm being honest, but here we are.
So what are we going to call them? We haven't actually initiated first contact, given that they're pre-warp, but would we designate them the Katoans?
I think we should call them the Jeanette. I think Jeanette is a good name.
That's an excellent idea, Petronova. Wonderful suggestion.
Also, I think we broke Captain. Captain appears to be out of sorts.
Well, he has learned that he's the father of a sector, planet, several planets actually, and a solar system, a species. It's a lot of responsibility.
I mean, we have to break captains to reforge them into greater steel.
What other data is on the probe?
I will display it on the screen and go over the data. I presume it goes over the different types of gases in the gas giant,
No, it is comprehensive, as if somebody literally spent like 3 weeks mapping this entire sector.
If we were to spend 3 weeks in the sector, we would be able to get comparative data, Captain, and maybe some deep boring on each of the planets. The probes would be able to get this data as well. It's perfectly within our ability.
Just, it would take time.
Yes, Captain. Time seems to be non-linear in this sector, especially to do with the K-Torp.
Would I be, he just ignores that comment completely. Would I be, this is a theory that I'm just going to just throw out there, and if anyone has any thoughts, then please feel free to add them. Could this anomaly be some kind of advanced telescope, for want of a better term?
The potential of it being an advanced alien species that are able to bend time and space in such a manner so they would be able to observe from great distances or from a different reality is plausible.
You know, Captain, I wonder, what would happen if we initiated or opened hailing frequencies inside the anomaly itself?
That is actually an excellent point, Doctor. I was about to default to telepathic contact, but that is actually a much better idea.
Well, only if it works.
Yes, fair, but at least it's something to try.
It's suggesting, Doctor, even if it doesn't work.
Indeed, I'm very surprised.
Oh, that was well played, Captain.
Thank you. I've been practicing. And Commander Petronova, could you put the probe back inside and initiate a full open general channel hail?
Okay, you want it to say standard greeting like usual? You want to record special message?
Let's go with the standard greeting and see what happens.
Very good. Sending probe back in. Probe goes
Thank
back
you.
into the anomaly. And this time, when the probe returns, it has a friend. And when I say it has a friend, I'd like you to imagine a jellyfish, but the jellyfish has been crossed with a crab. So it still has like that jellyfish sort of plumy head, but instead of tentacles or tendrils that a jellyfish would have, it has like translucent crab arms with claws on the end of them.
Is it biological or technological?
It is purely biological.
And Igus is going to do an immediate quick scan. Is it seem to be in any form of distress by being inside a void?
No, it seems
Or,
fine.
or indeed having now come out of a void.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and this thing is the size of a Constitution class, so this thing is a big space crab or space jellyfish crab thing.
Oh, the jellyfish is the size of a Constitution class.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Could I take a scan of the jellyfish using my medical knowledge?
You certainly could. Go ahead and give me a reason medicine, and the Messina will assist you with a sensors medicine. Difficulty of 1 in this instance.
I'll get myself.
Xenobiology?
Most definitely.
And I'll spend 1 momentum to roll 3 dice.
Okay.
And sorry, is someone supporting? I missed that.
Yeah, the Messina is supporting.
Lovely. And
Well,
you've got
that's
that.
already 3. 4 successes mean you get 3 momentum right back. So, Matan, this is a very wondrous thing, because this is when it starts to click for all of you. There is record of this kind of reality existing. In fact, a Starfleet vessel known as the Event Horizon and still uses this space as part of its coaxial drive, where the folding of space, the transition through this strange realm, it's all been recorded before. But what hasn't been recorded is this life form living in there. And again, there is no space within this anomaly, meaning that this creature is, for lack of a better term, a 0-point entity, where it doesn't have mass, it doesn't put off emissions, but you can see it just fine, where to you it just looks like a wondrous life form. But what I will give you, since you did succeed so well, is that it is putting off a transmission directed specifically towards the Messina.
Yeah, receiving a comm message from the Wondrous Lifeform Captain.
Very good. Put it through.
I shall try
And I'd like you to imagine like an old sort of not binary Morse code, where it's just kind of dots and dashes, and the computer is able to translate hello, and that's all it says, is just hello.
Fascinating. Doctor, your analysis, is it capable? Obviously, it's transmitting in this way. Is it able in some way to receive our reciprocal communications?
That at this point is unknown, but it did respond to the universal greeting sent by the probe, so presumably it has some means of interpreting our electromagnetic signals.
Perhaps the standard Federation greeting, Captain?
Well, I was going to try actual greeting.
If we could extrapolate from the code that it's using, we might be able to use the running lights on board the Messina herself to transmit in that fashion.
I can start delivering prime numbers and the alphabet if you wish for me, Captain.
Which alphabet?
Yes.
I imagine it would take quite a while to go through all the alphabet stages.
I can default to Beta Z if you wish for me to do so.
Well, I wouldn't recommend that. Beta's language has
like
6 different vowels and 20 different prime numbers. It's very weird.
Yeah, there's like 600 individual letters in the Betazoid script.
Should I just carry on with prime numbers?
Use your discretion, Aegis. That's fine with me.
Your alphabet has 600 letters?
I know it's insane. I mean,
Would
we
have
do.
designed such a thing?
Well, it's
Really, I
also
don't know
very
why.
odd, right? Because we also communicate telepathically. The amount of writing we do is actually quite negligible, but obviously there are written records, but and
Well,
it's
that
not,
that doesn't do very much good when you want to transmit information into the future.
Since the captain's given me discretion,
Hmm.
greetings, wondrous life form. I am the U.S.S. Messina, speaking on behalf of my captain. How may I assist you?
And to be clear, are you transmitting this or using the running lights?
Both, just to make sure that the message gets through.
Okay. So you send out that message. Jellyfish crab starts to flash more of the Morse code, and computer picks it up and says, "Hello, what can I help you with?"
We are explorers. We wish to learn more about you if you are amenable to that.
are we hearing this, or is there any kind of like
I am giving you
audio
the text
playback back
log.
and forth?
I'm
Right,
giving you
okay.
the.
Yeah, so you're all
So,
hearing this on the bridge.
right, okay, great.
I mean, you've given
Um,
me discretion. I'm having a conversation with the alien.
Crack on. Yeah, it's all good.
so
I'll,
the entity says, "I have already given your probe all the data that this particular vessel possesses."
You only possess the information on this sector and not on yourself.
Correct. Our vessel has only made an incursion into this reality once before.
Even though this information on this area of space is very vital to our roles of explorer. However, if you are amenable, we would wish to learn about your culture and the incursions that you have made into our space-time.
I will send the data, and you get
Thank
more
you.
data. And I'm not going to give you the full data because that's a spoiler for Event
Yeah,
Horizon, but you get a lot of data.
I am receiving copious amount of data, Captain.
uh, wonderful.
Data banks, 10% full. Data banks, 11% full. 12%, 13, 14. I will sell it running and keep this on your data pad, Captain.
Yeah, could you let me know when if or when it hits 50%? Because I think we may have to reconsider
Affirmative.
that. Yes, thank you.
Would you like me to share standard Federation data packets with the life form?
Please, yes. As a reciprocal gesture seems appropriate.
And I am going to give the standard what Federations give to other alien life forms, and
Okay.
also try to give some information because I presume it may be giving me some physics data.
A lot
This
of it,
is
yeah.
I'm going to be giving it physics data on our reality, since it seems to be unless the captain tells me not to, uh, information on how our reality works, since it seems to be from a completely different plane of existence.
I
All
mean,
right.
assuming that is what is inside what our standard data packet would be, then yes.
Well, I mean, technically, after Lower Decks literally opened a portal to a billion multiverses, I think you would have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be.
Hmm.
When it comes to incursions like this, I would assume there'd be a protocol for it.
Yeah, there's some protocol where at least some of that information is shared.
Yeah, if there is a
So,
protocol for this sort of thing, we're absolutely not following it.
yeah. So you transmit that info, and the jellyfish crab creature sort of just vibrates a little bit and says, "This is good data. We are curious about one thing. What is that?" And it points at the planet, the Class M planet with the pre warp civilization.
That is a Class M planet, which is able to sustain organic life forms which are prevalent throughout the entire galaxy. However, this specific one is a pre-warp civilization. As such, we would prefer it not to be interacted with and only observed in a state that they are able to observe us back, not to affect their culture.
Debating if I make this a roll. No, I think the jellyfish creature is amenable enough to go, "I see. We will have to study another one of these planets." And then the jellyfish creature just starts wandering off towards one of the Class D moons and just start or planets and just kind of hovers there, scanning it.
Hmm.
It seems to be amenable with our directions in the Prime Directive, Captain, at least from what I have described it.
Well, that's reassuring, I suppose.
Yelich, does the information get up to 50% now?
No, it only capped out at about 25.
The data transport transfer has finished. Information banks up to 25% capacity.
Huh. Well, That's good. Is it likewise good data?
It seems to be good data, Captain.
Well, we like good data. If you and or one of your instances at least and Zach could start going over the data, perhaps the doctor might like to look into any biological or medical information that might be present as well.
Very much so, Captain.
Well,
ELH, with this data, would I be able to adjust the sensors to be able to pick up this life form?
Yes, yes, you would be able to. I was just waiting for somebody to say that. It would either be a 2 momentum or 2 threat spend to make the trait possible.
I'm going to spend two momentum to make the sensors 0-point sensors.
Okay, 0-point sensors.
Captain, I have adjusted my sensors to be able to pick up this life form and also the orb.
So now that you've made that, and I'm going to specifically pick on Matan here for a little bit because Matan is thinking things from a medical perspective. So, Matan, now that you're able to see the jellyfish crab for the first time, you are seeing an entirely new form of life. And that was already probably obvious. But what I mean by that is this creature does not age. This creature does not get sick. In fact, the chemical processes within the creature are very similar to what is used on a certain planet in the Briar Patch that may or may not rely on a certain type of radiation that was the basis for a certain movie we don't speak of.
Funny enough, it's not in like the bottom half of the Star Trek films, but okay.
Yeah.
Question,
I mean, I feel like it
with
should
it
be,
being
but
within our reality, is it
Say again,
losing
B?
that? With it being in our reality, is it losing that effect?
Yes, actually, the more time it spends in our reality, the more time it becomes quote unquote real for this reality.
Captain, I may have our visitor may have an issue with staying within our reality. We may wish to converse with it to say that if it stays here long enough, it will accommodate to our way of physics and may rapidly adjust it or gradually adjust it. However, I believe it should be aware of such things.
Given its properties, and I'm going to put this to you, ELH, what the Sona were attempting to do to the Baku planet, could somebody attempt to harvest the organelles and chemicals and radioisotopes inside the creature for similar purposes?
Oh,
In
yes.
other words, okay.
Oh, yes. And to make matters even worse, what you just mentioned, that's like a level 1 sort of funny radiation. The creature and the stuff that's in the anomaly, it's like a level 5, where you're quite literally looking at the holy grail of medicine right now.
Where
Is
the
it
reason sorry, Matthew.
so? Is it something that could be mined or extracted from space itself, from the region beyond, or is it something that would be localized in the creatures?
Both.
Well, Captain, in addition to the concerns that we have, and that you would likely wish to articulate to the creature itself, it seems as if it might be imperiled by enterprising life forms from our dimension. And he'll forward basically a summary of the findings to the captain. And there's a sort of highlighted section dealing with conclusions as to the utility of these radioisotopes inside the creature.
Are you sharing that with the rest of the bridge or just the captain?
I think you'd have immediate access to it, I guess,
Yeah.
because, of course, you are the
I'm
ship.
asking for Zach because,
see, I was about to literally Bean and I clearly on the same wavelength here because I was about to say, can we lock this data from Zach?
So I had only sent it to the captain.
Okay. Okay.
That's the complication.
No, I have a different idea for that complication.
All right.
Okay. Interesting. Right. Well, that rather puts a dampener on this first contact situation.
However, Captain, I would be remiss to avoid mentioning that the opportunity to alleviate suffering afforded to us by access to their realm, this 0 point parallel universe, is immeasurable.
And I don't disagree, but that access has to be freely given, Doctor. We cannot have another Baku incident. I
Well,
know
they were
plenty
squatters
of.
anyways, but
I'm sorry.
I said, well, they were squatters anyways, but that's beside the point, I suppose.
I mean, in a more general sense than anything else. I know that a lot of people never want to mention what happened at Baku in any way, shape, or form through any particular media, for example. A lot of people prefer to think that it didn't happen.
Both in and out of our reality, says Igus to the audience.
Looks directly at the camera.
Yeah. Captain, would you like me to impress the long-term effects of our reality on our visitor?
I would very much like you to do that. Yes, please.
Certainly.
You
And
seem to have built a rapport, so yes, if you could lead on that, Aegis.
I will send it some more data about the concern that it will have if it stays in a reality too long. This is, and also put, because I just will make a full document. This isn't a you can't visit here, but just a recommendation you may wish to either adjust whatever you use as shielding to protect yourself from it, or stay here for a short amount of time so you're able to readjust back to your native realm.
Okay. So you send out that data. The jellyfish starts to wander back towards the anomaly and says, we will take these scans and we will move to a different point in another reality, unless there is reason you would wish to stay.
Well, hello. I'm the captain of the Messina.
Hello.
Hello. We didn't catch your identifier or species or information, or unless it's in the data that we were given.
We are known. And there's a pause. And then you get something on the Universal Translator that kind of sounds like a cat mixed with a... How to describe this? It's a cat mixed with a... What's the word for this? I'm blanking on the term. Okay, so you know how industrial facilities make very unique sounds that then sometimes get translated into music by certain people?
Sure.
So you basically are taking a cat yowling, mixing it with industrial music, and then throwing in a little bit of ska, because everything needs a little bit of ska.
I was not able to translate that, Captain.
Right.
We may wish to visit your realm if you are amenable to it, so if you would not adjust it immediately.
As IJ says, yes, we do have an interest in some of the radiogenic properties of your home dimension.
Would you like to come visit?
Well, honestly, yes, that would be incredibly.
I will open a portal for you, and because I have 6 threat and a complication from chat,
let's go. Whee!
The orb, the K-Torb, begins to grow and grow. And hey, you got momentum from chat, so you at least got that going for you. But the K-Torb begins to grow and grow and grow. And, Petronova's already trying to take the Messina away, but it's just too quick. The orbit just expands too quickly. And the Messina is brought into the 0 point realm, as we're going to call it.
The native species are going to now ponder the orb.
Could I spend 2 momentum for an advantage?
Sure. What do you want to do?
I would like to have it such that as it said that, Matan activated the sensors and basically assimilated every piece of information that he possibly could about how it was manipulating the orb or how it was creating it. Basically, I want to try to gather enough sensor information to potentially replicate it again in the future to go and plunder their domain for resources, as a good Cardassian would.
As a good Cardassian would. Very good.
Maybe,
so,
is he really being a Cardassian if he's not invading someone's home?
A suggested trait name, Ponder the Orb.
Ponder the Orb. I love it. We will add that. But
that should generate threat for some reason.
I don't know. I think it's a good spend. Ponder the orb.
No, I just meant the pun.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So you're in this realm. Again,
Hmm.
infinite mirrors. It's all tinted blue. But as you sit there, now that you have the specific medical data and sensor data to be able to detect things, you see that this realm has hundreds of thousands of these jellyfish, where they're just sort of floating around, going in and out of similar portals, just exploring. But because Matan spent the momentum, Matan, you know how on Voyager there's a specific discharge from the deflector ray to open a tear into fluidic space? Very similar situation here. Matan and Matan only has the data on how to open either a tear into your reality or a tear into this 0 point reality.
Question, ELH, and this is
Yeah,
not
what's up?
me. If Baton was to use me as it would, I also know that data as well.
I don't know. Matan, how secretive would you have been?
I don't think he would have been secretive. I think that Igus, at the very least, would know
No,
about it.
not to spoil your potential secrecy or anything, just from a point
No,
of
no, no. It's
reference.
a fair cop.
Yeah. So Matan and Igus know.
Uh, in the
As
meantime, Kato's just sort of he actually stands up from his chair and just sort of looks at the view screen like, oh, I seems we're not in the Kato sector anymore.
as I guess his hologram is doing a 360, and basically describe her face is when somebody is seeing something wondrous, like something just completely alien. But of course, it's more simulating what Igus is feeling at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, here, okay. Crew. Any First of all, systems check. And are we adversely affected in any way by any of the transitive properties of that or going through the orb's threshold? Is our shielding working as intended? Any
Um,
effects whatsoever?
Sir, if I am reading correctly, the temporal shielding is holding, but there is issue I wish to raise.
Please do. Yep.
And
Am I going to like what you're going to raise?
I'm not sure. And what she does is she actually rolls up the sleeve of her uniform. And anybody who have seen Petronova, you would know that she has kind of this large scar on her forearm. That scar is, as you look at it, quite literally knitting itself and disappearing, as if it's being regenerated somehow by the radiation of this natural place.
That is
Which
Oh
leads me to
boy.
my next point.
Mhm.
Matan, what injuries do you have? What long form injuries does Matan have?
You know what? Frankly, I don't think that he would have any. I don't think he'd sort of encountered anything like that in his career.
Okay, then I'm going to spend the complication from chat. You're growing a Cardassian to make an inside joke.
Oh,
even more a very bushy Western Cardassian.
huh. And it's actually starting
Uh,
to sort of come
So
across his cheeks a little bit. I never
Zach,
had a full beard before.
so
I hate
Zach is
this.
going to tap something behind his ear and go,
It's hideous. Oh,
I mean,
"The
I'm
ringing is
inclined to
gone."
agree, but so what else?
what do you
Kato,
know about aesthetics? Oh,
Kato, real
That's
quick, what long form injuries does Kato have?
That is an excellent question. Um, Can I put anything down about this? Let's just say he's got let's do an O'Brien. He's got like a rotator cuff injury, so his shoulder will pop in and out of joint occasionally, especially if
Okay,
he goes like bit, Bajoran, Betazoid kayaking or something.
Betazoid kayaking, love it. So yeah, your rotator
It's
cuff's
not as
actually
dangerous
feeling.
as a. Sorry.
No, you're good. Your rotator cuff, it's feeling really good. But for some reason, you also now have an afro. So have fun with that.
so Zach goes, "Can
Huh.
I? Do I have permission to scan everyone? This is fascinating." my hearing is fixed as well. As the
Um,
doctor knows, I normally wear a earpiece to adjust the ringing, but it's gone.
Please, by all means, scan away. In particular, can you
Scan, scan.
can you make sure, or can you track um, anything relating to how to phrase this? Some sort of like cellular regression. Are we actually aging, or de-aging in some way, or is this some sort of regenerative properties akin to dermal regeneration,
I can
or
definitely go over the radiation for you, Captain, but I think the doctor would be better on the whole medical side of things.
well, if the two of you could collaborate, please, because it would all be Klingon to me.
Well,
Yes, of course. And he's actually already got the tricorder out, just scanning his face.
okay.
So
Give me
Zach is
a
gonna
Increased
reason
follicle
medicine
growth.
difficulty of 0.
and Zach's gonna scan the area around him to see if there's anything he can pick up from
Okay.
the atmosphere.
You can
And
assist
I'm
with your own reason medicine.
and I'm also, just while this is going on and rolls are being made, I'm just going to give a sort of more general order to Commander Petronova. Commander, I just want you to try and work out where the boundary of the orb is or was, and whether we can traverse back through it in any easy manner.
Okay.
So then after that conversation, after all of that ordering, and then I just can shake herself awake. I'm operating at full capacity. Sorry, Commander, I've been quite distracted. Captain,
Uh,
sorry. Mm.
Perfectly fine. But full capacity meaning full capacity. Is the ship okay? Is your
I'm
computer
fully
systems
functioning.
work?
Sorry, Captain. My it's more of an emotional awe rather than a physical issue. My Yes, I will dial my emotional processor to be able to function properly, Captain.
No, I think quite the opposite, actually. I'm overjoyed that you've experienced the wonder of exploration in the same way that we have, and don't apologize for feeling at all. That's
Thank,
I'm very happy for you.
uh, thank you, Captain. I will try to maintain my duties. She will just like shirk behind her console.
Now, Matan, since you did make the roll and you did succeed so well, what I will tell you is that this is a regenerative radiogenic effect where your natural cell growth is being stimulated and modified in such a way to produce the Cardassian, to produce the Afro, to heal a scar. It is, as you suspected when you first scanned this, the holy grail of medicine.
Is it, and this is more of a suggested question, is it overreacting to a point of being an issue, or is it just like, oh, we will have hair to the length of our ankles, but that's the majority of our issues when it comes to this? If you get my meaning.
So, and this is kind of a tricky thing to say because I don't want this to come across as the wrong thing, but this is the quote unquote ideal form where the Baku were always a certain age and they never got sick.
Mm.
This is what your cells think is their ideal form. So, for example, on Matan's face, the hair growth on his face believes he really should have a Cardassian for some reason.
Hmm. Maybe a bit of a trim, Doctor, but I think it suits you quite well.
I mean, I do agree to disagree, I think, on that point. But
Or listened to my cells before. Not going to start now. At any rate, he just puts away the little nodule from the tricorder, slaps it closed. I don't suspect that there's anything dangerous about the radiogenic isotopes in this region. Quite the opposite. If we stayed here, well, we would be in the prime of our lives for I couldn't tell you how long we would actually live here. In
in
a
the
good way.
vein of right, okay.
Not that we would die very soon. I'm saying that I couldn't project our lifespan. It would be far in excess of what we would experience outside of this anomaly.
So Zach will actually return back to his thing and just have like this pondering, then like overly concerned look as he's just like looking left to right while thinking.
Um, uh, Question, Doctor. Would these effects, um, how to phrase this? Would we,
Persist if we were to depart this realm.
thank you. You're reading my mind again,
I think you might just
or
be
I'm
projecting your thoughts.
transmitting my thoughts. Yeah, I'm going to have to work on that, it seems.
You have opened the quote unquote Troy channel quite frequently, Captain. It might have some adverse effects.
Huh. In here, you mean, or
Oh, no,
generally
in general.
speaking? Oh, well, I apologize to any sort of looks at the bridge. I apologize to anyone who may have inadvertently
Well,
picked up on my stray thoughts.
Well,
what I
not to be a bit of downer, but your souffle recipe, absolute dog shit. I don't know what you're doing not using milk.
Souffle recipe.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly never had souffle recipe, but I passed by you in corridor and suddenly souffle recipe, so I only thought it must come from you.
Fascinating. I don't think I've ever cooked a souffle in my life.
maybe that's why it's a bad recipe, Captain.
Well, it could be. I don't. When was this, Petronova?
It was just last week.
Last week.
I mean, we did have souffle in the mess hall, so maybe it's more of a situational awareness thing rather than a errant
Well,
thought.
apparently so. So either way, it would appear random errant thoughts are leaking out of my brain. So I will apologize and try and resist that.
I mean, Captain, you did say that when you got closer to people, it would be easier to make a mental connection. Maybe
Well,
that's just the development of a natural relationship.
yes, and were this a Betazoid chip, I wouldn't worry too much about this at all. But I'm led to believe that people rather like their private thoughts to be, well, private.
Well, you'd be happy to
Um,
know I haven't had any errant thoughts from you, Captain.
that's both good to know and also a little sad.
I haven't
Also,
had it either, Captain.
entirely beside the point because I feel like we should be doing what we can to. Is the jellyfish still with us, ELH?
I
The
mean,
one
there's
that
hundreds
was
of jellyfish out,
no, no,
hundreds
no.
of thousands of jellyfish.
The specific one that was with us.
Oh yeah, it came back into the orb with you.
It came back into the what's it doing? Is it
I was just chilling.
just chilling?
It's vibing. It has all of the universe to vibe with us.
True. Um, I just could you contact the our friend out there, the
Yes.
caterwaul that we had earlier, and well, one, thank it for inviting us into its realm, and in the most delicate way possible, ask, is there a way for us to leave as well? In
Certainly,
so much as can we come and go at our own leisure?
certainly, Captain. And I will open the comms bit. Hello, friend. I wish to thank you for inviting us to his realm, and the most wonderful it is. Your species is quite marvelous. I was wondering if we are able to freely come and go, or will we have to ask you to be able to leave your realm?
There's a pause. I believe that this is a sufficient visit. Have a pleasant rest of your day. And again, one of those just you're there one moment and gone the next. You're back in your own reality, and the orb is slowly shrinking back down to a point of nothingness.
It seems that our stay was well, not overdone, but it seemed to be just right, Captain.
T Time limited at the very least, it would seem. Um, Out of character. Are we hitting any? Are scars regrowing? Are our
No, the scars are gone, the rotator cuff damage gone.
Is there any like stress on the hull which has been reverted due to the
Not
like
because of temporal shielding.
okay. No, just
Oh, what does that mean? What? Why would there be other stresses on the hull, or?
just the daily day health stresses like from going from warp and stuff, because I presume they get fixed by the engineering staff. But I was wondering if they were in any way influenced by the realm that we were in, which may not because we had temporal shielding.
Okay, okay, okay. Cool, 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 cool.
Zach will pipe up and go, Captain, I can understand maybe this isn't maybe not the best voice to put forward, but I would know some enterprising sorts which would love to get their hands on it, and I presume you don't want those sort of people getting their hands on it. This information. Because I don't know about the incident you were talking about, but like yeah, if anybody were to get their hands on what we just saw, they would be very much wanting to get their hands on it, if you get my drift.
I do. Also, are we speaking at a tolerable level for you? You said your hearing had improved.
It's a bit of a Justin month, but I'm fine. Don't worry about it. It was like when I was a liquidator.
Okay. You're entirely right. In fact, I think I would like to classify all records of this particular encounter from anyone below, well, my rank and flag rank, and then I think we should wrap all that data up and send it back to the Commodore on the Amaterasu.
Affirmative, Captain. I will start espionage mode and writing a report. Dr. Maton, would you like to join me in medbay so we may be able to write the report since you are the most expert on this on the biological side of it?
Yes, yes, of course.
So I'm going to wink over, and as soon as Maton gets into the room, I seal the room to the point where not that the room you can't leave, but sensors, nothing can hear us, that sort of thing.
Under other circumstances, I might be somewhat concerned by the fact that you have turned this room into a functional black box, and I'm locked in here with a hologram that can turn into a shark. But
Only one of my instances likes to turn into a shark, Dr. Maton, but I believe that you would want the level of secrecy that we are about to discuss.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. That's why I said under other circumstances. However, in this one, I appreciate the discretion.
I haven't shared any of the data that was logged into me with the captain, but I presume you wouldn't be admissible to do so. However, my ethical subroutines would not want this data to get into the wrong hands, and I was just wondering what your thought patterns on how we would go forward with this.
You are the most secure person to retain the data, I suppose. Given the security protocols that have been put in place around your core and inherent to your programming, I think it would be difficult for anyone to extract them from you. Do you have an espionage protocol or the like that would allow you to lock away the data for yourself?
Yes, I would be able to log the data, so I would only be able to retrieve it in certain circumstances, i.e., talking to you or the captain. Even though I would be amiss to suggest it, since one of my primary drives is the gathering of information for Starfleet, so that Starfleet would be able to protect itself against anomalies like this. Part of my ethical subroutines is arguing against that point. We should not input the exact data of how to open a hole into this reality unless the circumstances 100% requires it. There is a number of programs within the holodeck which, if you were to put this correct input, would release classified information to allow Starfleet personnel to use it in desperate situations.
Well, I would hope that Starfleet would use this data to, well, quite simply to heal those whose injuries are beyond even current medical science of treating. But if anyone else were to gain access to the means by which to access this other realm, there could be a genocide.
Yes, they could either choose to harvest the life forms. I do not know on their reproductive patterns, or even if they have reproductive patterns, if the radiation is emitted from them or from the realm itself, or if sentient life forms with scrupulous values would try to enter the space and harvest them. Now, I would normally, if there wasn't precedent already, put it through the prior patch incident, where a Starfleet admiral worked with a hostile force to remove a as put it, squatter civilization from that planet and move them elsewhere. As much as I believe in the values of Starfleet, some people within Starfleet, even if they do not mean to, could use this data to cause devastation for a life form, which, if, from my understanding, has no hostile intent and may not even understand hostile intent.
What are you suggesting?
The data that you put into my system that allows us to open up the Pandora's box in this situation be obfuscated. We would be the only two people which would know this data.
Frankly, I think that's above my pay grade. I'm shocked at myself that I'm suggesting this, but I believe that that decision should actually fall to the captain.
I can bring the captain into this conversation, but that would add a third person into knowing this information.
Indeed, but don't you trust him?
I do trust the captain.
You said that in a very odd way. Is that meant to imply that you don't trust me?
I do trust you, Dr. Maton. I would not have this conversation about this importance in this manner if I did not trust you.
Well, it would seem to me that you have no other choice but to have this conversation with me, considering that I'm the one who actually recorded the data. But nonetheless, I will take that at face value and submit that we should indeed contact the captain and ask his perspective on the matter.
Captain, would you please come to medbay?
Yes, very good. Is everything all right?
Everything is fine, sir. We can have this discussion in your ready room if you wish to have it in a more official capacity.
I don't know what the discussion is.
I do not wish to talk about it over comms, and this is as much to you as possible, whether it's over text or like is only going in your earbud for your universal translator rather than just your comm badge.
Mm-hmm.
Like the log of the conversation is on the computer record, so people are able to see that you're having a conversation with me. But Igus is being as secretive as Igus can be in this situation.
Right. I'm tempted to say ready room, but in fact, yes, actually, please meet me in my ready room.
Affirmative. The captain would prefer to talk about this in the ready room, Doctor.
Very good.
I remove the black box from there, move the black box to there, and move everybody over there.
Yeah, we do this, the transition over. We'll say just for sake of
I was just going to say, I think that she just disappears from in front of Matan. He says, oh, right, now I've got to go back to the bridge. Oh, I should have had him come down here. Oh, well.
I'm sorry. I guess his paranoid mode is on.
But, I guess you're already in the ready room with Kato. Then Matan, you walk in, room seals, secures itself. And just because we are starting to come up on a time limit, I'm just going to say, for sake of argument, you explain everything that you've just discussed of, hey, we have a way of opening a way into this realm. Should we classify, destroy, obfuscate? What do we do with this data?
Like, the destroy is Igus's last resort on this situation. She believes that it should be a possibility on the table. Obfuscated so that, as much as I don't like the spore drive, but like on Star Trek Online when they had to have a discussion with the spore drive, basically there's a holographic Maton or whatever we use embedded in a holodeck program, which Starfleet is able to activate in this situation with it having a subroutine to protect the alien life form, so it's able to give or not give this information if needs be, or we just hand it over classified to Starfleet without issue. And also I have Starfleet protocol, so I guess even with going for the more extreme options, she is trying to do this in the most Starfleet way possible and pulling up like specific parts of the Prime Directive or other policies Starfleet have on similar issues.
Right.
And Matan would suggest that we classify the data, not transmit it over any subspace frequencies, but only hand it over in a material form to somebody from Starfleet at a later date. And for the moment, while we make reference to it in the encrypted logs that we submit, it would be locked up in IGUS's mainframe.
Cato has two traits, two values, sorry. One is no secrets hidden, and the other one is honesty is the best policy. So this is literally right at the core of his being as to what to do with this.
What I guess a suggestion, knowledge is power and gaining it is survival, is actually working against her values. However, I believe as a Starfleet officer, she would also want to protect this life form.
And Matan does have the values of the prime directive of medicine is to serve life, and freely given, freely received, in that Starfleet aided his Cardassian colony when it was beset by a plague out of pure generosity and humanitarian interest. So disseminating this data is actually, and not restraining it, is in fact more in line with his ethics. However, he also recognizes some degree of pragmatism in maintaining secrecy.
And Cato is just going to sort of sit at his desk, which at the moment, there are some details about his ready room, which we'll go into at a later date. At the moment, it's just a desk in a room. You're putting me in an incredible bind here, both of you. But thank you for bringing the information to me. Thank you for laying out your suggestions for it. Perhaps quite rightly, based on the prior incident that we've mentioned, that there seems to be an element of mistrust in how Starfleet would handle this data. Would I be right in assuming that from both of you?
It's less of a mistrust on how Starfleet Admiralty would handle the information, but the more people that would know this information, the more chance it would be able to get into hands which would not bode well with it.
Yes, no, I completely agree with that. However,
this is also, I've been calling this incident a Pandora's box. As soon as we open the box, it doesn't matter how much we open it.
It only seems fitting given that we traveled through the Pandora's Gate to get here. How much of an omission would this data be to the logs that we could send to the Admiralty?
We could give an incident
would it be very obvious that we've omitted data?
Well, we neither entered or exited the anomaly by our own accord.
No,
As such,
yes, okay.
Maton's data on being able to open up a rift to and from this location would be easily obfuscated from the port.
But that's my question, Aegis. Is there would be a sensor gap, would there not?
There would be a sensor gap, but also a plausible one.
Plausibility is perhaps the issue here, because if I'm someone that wants to look into what we're suggesting as a possibility for harm to this dimension, this realm, and the inhabitants thereof, the first thing I'm looking for is the sensor data.
We could, another plot of action, we could give this to a Pacific animal.
I agree, and I'm inclined to hard code this onto a data rod or an isolinear device of some kind, and physically hand over the data and have only the data, the only copy of that data on that device.
I believe that would be wise, Captain. You may wish to give it to the Commodore.
Well, indeed, and the Commodore is probably my first choice. However, I fail to see how that mitigates any of the risk that you brought up, because giving it to one person means giving it to all of them, in effect.
My concern was more with its transmission over subspace and not being able to compartmentalize the data. I still believe that Starfleet should have it, at least some segment of Starfleet.
Do apologize if my statements are conflicting, Captain. Two major parts of my subroutines are against each other, which is harming my logical statements in this discourse.
Rest assured, I guess I think that you are in precisely the same position as the two of us.
I agree. Yes, the
The efficacies of this may be above our decision. So we may wish to have a private conversation with a specific admiral of our choosing. Now, out of character, I can't believe I'm saying this. Somebody with the efficacies of Admiral Janeway, when trapped in the Delta Quadrant,
oh
she
God,
was
no, we can't give
putting
it to her.
no.
No,
So
the threat is pouring in already at the very idea.
I am just referencing an episode where
Mhm.
she stopped another Starfleet crew from using a alien life form as a fuel source.
The
Mhm.
Equinox. Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, the Equinox. She has a track record of preserving alien life forms. Now, I'm not saying we give it to Janeway before people.
I'm just gonna
That's already
say
on it.
that
Yep.
that evil complication somewhere, whatever Janeway's doing, she says there's a disturbance in my coffee.
Oh no, I'm in threat. Help.
Um,
Using her solely as an example for that
yeah. Well, I was
sole
going to say, was there a
episode.
point there, Bean? Because
I just picking a admiral which has a track record of understanding alien life forms in that way. Not saying that all Starfleet admirals have
Mhm.
that thing, but some are more geared to other aspects. Because like one which fights the Borg a lot might have a more militaristic mindset on this. Igus is not verbalizing this fully, but that's the idea she's getting through.
Well, I mean, the were we to give or transmit or provide this information to anyone, I would feel that the admiral that would be most um, circumspect in its use would be Admiral Picard.
Is Picard an admiral? Because I'm not
Yeah, at
thinking
this
of him.
point, he's an
Okay,
admiral in my canon.
he would
Actually, I
also
think
be a fan choice.
he's is he a rear admiral? I think he's a rear admiral in my canon at this point.
Having a admiral have this data and then give our suggestion obfuscating the data wouldn't put more credence than us doing so. Because it could be seen as insubordination by this code of the Starfleet protocols.
Now we don't have plausible deniability. Why would you tell us about that?
I, I am to give all information to the crew as much as possible so they can make an informed decision, Doctor.
The fair point, Doctor. They
We
have you there.
could register a R R&R on Earth, so we would be able to personally discuss this with an admiral in person rather than.
I continue to come back to my key concerns, which are one, taking the Doctor's point in hand that this is potentially life-changing, life-altering information on a it can affect the entire fabric of the Federation of our civilization because suddenly,
People do not age.
precisely, suddenly medicine is obsolete. Um, on the other hand, we have not been. It's been made, to my mind, quite clear that we are not. I won't say not welcome in this reality, but we're certainly
Visitors.
toler correct and only tolerated in that capacity. They didn't even let you discuss terms for returning. Um, I have a feeling that handing this to a specific person means it just disappears. I'm equally aware that giving it to a large group of people means that too many people is too many ways for the information to be accidentally released. Um, this goes against most of my principles. I am going to give an order, please, Aegis and Doctor. I would hope you would follow this order as well, to seal these records under my personal authority and my personal access codes for the time being, while I make a decision on
Deliberate.
this. Yes.
Hmm.
Hi, Captain. I will put this into the most highest level of my espionage protocols, and I will only be able to remember it when in discussion with yourself or the doctor in private matters.
Very good. Thank you.
All right.
I apologize for the ethical dilemma that I have put you both under.
I believe they say it comes with the chair, and I'm certainly experiencing that.
And with that,
Yeah.
yeah. And with that, we sort of just pull out of the ready room window and we just sort of see the Messina just checking out that Class M world. Because, hey, pre-warp civilization, we got to check that out.
Woo!
Ah,
Are they using spears or are they using bows? Who knows?
Oh,
they
they're
plundering
actually
the
using
orb?
halberds. So,
Oh, like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, okay. They're further along than we thought.
Yeah, they're doing all right. But yeah, that's where we'll end today's session. And yeah, no, that actually went really well because I was a little bit worried that I don't even know if it's a prime directive, but the Star Trek core conflict that arose, you all picked up on it instantly, which was great.
Lots of
I
fun.
Yeah.
didn't realize pondering the orb was going to put me in this state of being.
It's made me remember Insurrection more than I'm comfortable with, but what can you do?
Eh, unfortunately, it's the best reference I can give. So, No, the
I'll
only
allow
reason
it.
I didn't like Insurrection was because they did Data dirty, in my opinion. Like, it feels like every movie with Data, they're just shitting on Data. And Data's my favorite character. So,
I mean, to
Yeah.
be fair, they did everyone dirty in that film. They did Worf dirty, they did Riker dirty. They cut his beard off for some goddamn reason.
this is
Smooth
true.
as an android's bottom.
Um, but yeah, no, otherwise, really enjoyed that. It's good to have a
Yeah.
nice little ethical debate in there.
Hmm.
Wouldn't be Star Trek without it.
Yeah. All right. Well, Twitch, stick around because we're going to raid somebody, but YouTube, we'll see you later. Bye bye, YouTube.